Hello buddies, and welcome back to another history video. Still on the First World War, and I'm actually gonna stop saying what I'm going to do in the next video because then something happens and, well, plans change, inconsistency and all that. So I'll be talking about the war plans that were created by France and Germany and why they failed. So in the words of Rihanna, we know the system, we have the firepower, and we have each other. You ready? Let's go! I briefly summarized the war plans in the militarism video, but now I'll tell you guys how those plans actually went into action. However, the best way to talk about the war plans is through the various battles in which they manifested themselves in. So if you'd like videos on that, please let me know. Okay, anyway, let's go. We gotta know the who, the why, and the what of the whole ordeal. So Plan 17 was a strategy created by France's Conseil Supérieur de la Guerre, Joseph Joffre, in the years 1912 to 1914 that would take initiative if and when Germany attacks France. So, as I talked about, the why in previous videos, France went after Alsace-Lorraine because it was a mineral-rich territory and they were determined to get it back after Germany captured it during the Franco-Prussian War. And finally, the plan stated that in case of a German attack, troops would rush to capture Alsace-Lorraine and move on to Berlin by crossing the Rhine River. Now, over 1 million French soldiers gathered at the German border ready to invade Alsace-Lorraine. So, we know that. Now, let's move on to the Schlieffen Plan. So this was created in December 1905 by Count Alfred von Schlieffen with the intention of gaining the territories of France and Russia by attacking them one at a time. So the why. Essentially, which we've talked about in previous videos, Germany wanted to grow their empire just like its European peers and did so by aiming at attacking one nation, France, and having a decisive victory there and moving on to the next, Russia. We talked about Germany's Kaiser wanting to join the League of Empires, that is Great Britain, France, Portugal, and all of the others, but the thing that rushed Germany into the war, as we talked about, was the establishment of the alliance system, which had the three most powerful and influential nations in Europe, the Triple Entente, ready to support each other. Now, a good video that details this part and that's really entertaining and funny to watch is Oversimplified's video on the First World War. It has 2 parts, so you can watch it. It's really good. Sums up everything. And yeah, moving on. Germany knew it was at risk of encirclement, and so they drew up a plan to take them out first. It knew that relying on Austria-Hungary and Italy was also not going to be effective. So the plan, what was to happen? They were to attack France first and defeat them in 6 weeks by invading them through neutral Belgium and the Netherlands. They chose to take this route in order to evade France's massive defenses to the southeast of the country. You know, the area that's close to Alsace-Lorraine. As we might know, Alfred von Schlieffen thought the Russian forces would take at least 6 weeks to mobilize, as seen by the recent defeat of the Russo-Japanese War. So when the Germans defeat France, those armies would turn to the east to invade and defeat Russia. This was the draft of the plan created by Schlieffen, which the new general Moltke decided to make slight adjustments to and use without further modification. Modification that would have been effective and prevented Germany from relying on good luck, which they didn't have. Unfortunately, I'm not supposed to be biased. Okay, continuing. However, the Schlieffen Plan needed to check a couple of boxes if the generals involved wanted it to succeed. And I'm talking about this plan more because it was this plan that basically decided the fate and rate of the war. So the first box, no other countries were to intervene fiercely. Okay, in Germany's eyes, Belgium was not supposed to be that stubborn, and Britain was not supposed to intervene so quickly and with such determination. Also, Britain's force might have been smaller, but what it lacked in quantity, it gained in quality, as the British Expeditionary Force, or the BEF, French and Belgian counterattacks managed to slow down, exhaust, and kill hundreds of thousands of Germans. So what happened? On the 4th of August 1914, Germany, led by General Moltke, invaded Belgium. The Belgians were fierce and determined to slow down by any means the incoming German armies, as we talked about in the previous video. However, the Belgians were no match for the massive German army and their powerful artillery and guns. And, it can be very discouraging when a plan doesn't work out. Firstly, they were stalled by some small country for weeks. And then imagine finding out that the thing that you were trying to avoid appears right in front of you. Guess what that is? You know, that's Russia. Because on the 19th of August, its army invaded the east of Germany, which is like present-day Poland. That was unprecedented, as Germany's officials thought they would be too slow, the Russians, to mobilize and move its troops and supplies through Russian Poland, which is northeast of Germany. Due to the poor transportation ways, and thus would be underwhelming to catch up to or even beat Germany. The Germans were pretty much like, Russia, what can it do? Too slow. So basically, this whole event, you know, Russia actually turning out to be quicker than expected, forced the generals to transfer the troops in the Western Front over to the Eastern Front of the war, which was where the Russian troops were at. This battle was won by Germany, sure. However, it led to more challenges on the Western Front. Let's talk about that. Then the bloody violence broke out during the Battle of the Mons on the 23rd to 24th of August, where the BEF, made of 125,000 well-trained troops, managed to slow down the Germans. As I mentioned in the militarism video, the BEF was fast and skilled, so this force was ready to fight and help Belgium within a week of the war starting. And finally, the final box. Whatever plan the French had, it would need to have been resolved quickly and without losing many resources. This, however, was not the case, as the two powerful and large German armies led by Moltke fought against the incoming French troops headed to Alsace-Lorraine. He sent them there. These two armies were not meant for this attack, as they would have been useful at Marne, where the fight would get really tough and would result in a stalemate. And let me tell you, a stalemate is basically a situation where nobody fights anyone because of the lack of tactical opportunity. It's like a draw during a chess game. You know, you're just moving the pawn one step further, or the freaking bishop, just one little diagonal square forward or backwards. It's not really doing anything. You're just trying to prolong the game, and it's just wasting time. That's basically what was happening here. Therefore, during the Battle of the Marne, which was a very drawn-out battle that began on the 5th of September and ended on the 11th of September, some sources say 6 to 12, just be aware of that, Germany's forces were not strong enough. So here, the BEF rushed to the River Marne to quickly push the Germans away from Paris, and it worked. So the Germans retreated close to the east of the River Marne. They were then beaten back to the River Marne by the retreating French forces coming from Alsace-Lorraine. You remember that? This entire situation saw Germany be pushed back about 35 miles, and that is about 12 acres, which is 61,600 yards, which is also 184,800 feet. That is for those of us who don't understand measurements. And by the end of the battle, more than half of the British expeditionary force was lost due to heavy casualties and death. And by the end of the battle, both sides began digging 400-mile lines of trenches stretching from the English Channel to Switzerland and setting up machine gun posts. But the main key to success of this plan was the swift attack and defeat of France. And this was because a long war would mean having to fiercely battle against the forces of the Triple Entente, two of which are massive empires. And it's only Germany against these guys. It wasn't gonna end up well if the battle had been prolonged. Yeah, that happened. Now let's talk about the importance and the what happened next of the Schlieffen Plan's failure. So it led to the start of trench warfare in the Western Front, as neither side saw any opportunity to overtake the other and capture territory. So this is otherwise known as a stalemate, basically. Yeah, as I explained. And it actually led to the war of attrition, which we will talk about in later videos. So the failure of the Schlieffen Plan also highlighted the tragedy that would become this war. Though many people thought that the war would be over by Christmas, the progress of technology through the decades saw the invention of ways to inflict more damage and destruction quickly. What wasn't taken into consideration was the fact that both sides would have access to this technology. The skill and power of both sides meant that they were throwing punches using the same amount of force. No side was advancing. It created a stalemate, and both sides would literally inch, closer and further away, whilst leaving hundreds of thousands of bodies behind and inflicting unrepairable emotional, psychological, and physical damage. And finally, the plan's over-reliance on things just going well is exactly what led everything to going wrong. Once the German troops dug in after the Battle of the Marne, General Moltke said to the German Kaiser, "Sir, we have lost the war." Based on the context, we can assume that this is because of the sheer amount of exhausted German troops on the Western Front, who, without the railway lines, because remember, Belgium blew those up, were not replaced as efficiently as the French troops, who were so close to Paris that fleets of taxis transported them to the battlegrounds. And I know no one asked for my opinion, but man, war. Honestly. But anyway, that's basically it on the war plans. Let's look at some quiz questions, okay? As we always do. Quiz question number 1. What war plan created by France stated that in case of a German attack, French troops would rush to take back Alsace-Lorraine? Options are Plan 17, Plan France, Operation Alsace-Lorraine, Plan 17. Choose. Next question. The following were reasons for Germany's plan failing, except Russia invaded faster than expected, German troops were underprepared from the start, Belgium destroyed railway lines to and from France, German troops were defeated in the Battle of the Marne. Yes, which is the answer. Next. Who created Germany's plan? Alfred von Schlieffen, General Moltke, Count Alfred von Schlieffen, Kaiser Wilhelm? Which one? And what does BEF stand for? What does the BEF stand for? Is it best friend? And finally, in what year was the Schlieffen Plan created? 1905, 1900, 1871, or 1914? I'm gonna tell you the answers right now. 1, 2, 3. Answer for number 1 is Plan 17. 17. Answer for number 2 is B. German troops were underprepared from the start. That's not true. German troops were very much prepared. Very, very prepared. And exactly what they were doing. Number 3. Who created Germany's plan? The answer for that one is C. Count Alfred von Schlieffen. The next question, what does the BF stand for? It stands for British Expeditionary Force. And finally, the year that the Schlieffen Plan was created was 1905. I'm done. We're done. Thank you for being done with me on this part of the history tour of World War I history, IGCSE things. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. If you've been a subscriber for a while, you know that I'm not very consistent. I'm trying to work on that, but thank you so much for just watching. If this is getting to you, if you've watched up to this point, leave a shine emoji, you know, the one with the stars. Thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next video, which is it's about the trenches in the First World War and the conditions that the soldiers had to live in. So yeah, thank you so much, and bye bye. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to do my outro. This is me. This is a nugget. This is another. Bye.